This is a primer on DIO clutches or Honda Elite. Your clutch is back here. This is called a clutch bell. As you can see, there's one nut. I believe that's 14 millimeter on the back one. And you have your belt. And once you take the clutch bell off, you have to have something to brace it to take it off. In these holes right here, and I'll show you. Then you have your belt. Then we have our front, and this is the drive face. Your variator is right behind it. Now on this drive face, you notice there's a hot spot right there. There's also a little bit of rust right there. You need to pay attention to your drive face, excuse me, and remember, every problem that you have will show on your bike. Now after you take the nut off your rear clutch, the bell comes off. Then you have your clutch, and your clutch is right here. Now this is what's called a KRS right here, adjustable clutch, and it comes with the clutch with these yellow little weights, and your it comes with this Allen wrench. Now the way the adjustable clutch works is your clutch fulcrum, there's three of them, here, here, and here. So as your clutch spins, the clutch wants to, like a merry-go-round, it wants to throw the clutch out. As the clutch pads come out, they grab hold of the clutch bell, which turns the transmission, which turns the wheel. Now the way the adjustable clutch works is you can unscrew this right here, and you can take the it says KRS right there, you can turn it around so the weight's more closer to the fulcrum, and that will either give you a closer or a faster grab on the clutch or a looser one. I'm not sure. I've done so many of them here and there. Now these are the tools you're going to need to do your clutch work. You're going to need a Kitico wrench, and I got all this stuff from VT. This is a 2000 stall center clutch spring. Here's 1000. Here's 1400. I like the yellow one myself. These work. This is a puller. It's got a hook on the end that I got from a motocross site on the web, and what they use that for is to pull the large springs. There's two of them on a lot of the motocross bikes as they go into the cylinder. Their exhaust pipe has a couple of springs, and they're really good for getting the springs on and off. And they work on these small clutch springs. These are the triple springs. Each color, those are the stock ones right there. These are the stock ones up here. These other ones are different sizes, and they will hold the clutch pads in longer so you can get a higher rev before they grab. And of course, that's all you have to experiment and experiment and experiment. And this tool is just absolutely excellent. I got it from Stephen Keone at VT Cycles. Honda sells a socket, but they won't. They list it, but they won't sell it to you because they're assholes. And here we have the bell again. And what's happened on this, if you notice on the front here, what's happened is the belt has stretched because it got too hot, and it caught right here. And when it catches right there, it'll just go, and then it will stop. Then you have to let it cool down. Now if you'll notice up here on the boost bottle, remember when that, in the last video, the clear hose was clear? Well, this is from the gas vapor, fuel vapor, going up here. Instead of going that way, it goes up the pipe to the boost bottle and stays there until the next intake stroke. That sounds like a damn porno, doesn't it? And this is a tool that I made. It consists of a piece of 4x4 wood, 2 cheap pieces of inch wide flat bar, and a couple of little bolts. And as you can see, what I do is I'll put the wood down here underneath the bike, and maybe put your foot on it if you want. And then I put the bolts in the holes, hold them there, and then I'll ratchet off the nut. It works really good and it's cheap. This is the way I used to take off clutches before I had my ZTR clutch thing, and this works pretty good. What you want to do is you'll have to get this nut loose a little bit first, and then you take your adjustable dollar clamps and you compress the clutch a little bit more to just take the pressure off the nut, and then you can unscrew that, and then you've got to take it all apart without it blowing up on you. And this is the way I do it. And of course it's in the summer and not bad, 50 years old. But what I do is I stand on a board and I'll take a hammer and I'll bang on that and just get the nut to come off just a little bit. And see, oh, it's 39 millimeters. But that is just a really great tool I got at VT Cycles. And then you see I've got the nut off. I took it off. A lot of the guys in Hawaii do it this way. But you see, I'm not 20 years old, so it's you get older and everything gets stiffer, and it's a pain in the ass to do. But that's what you do. Let's see. Then the top of the clutch pops off, and you can see this is underneath the clutch. You can see the triple springs here. 1, 2, and 3. The little ones. We have 3 triple springs here, and we have 1 large clutch spring here. These small springs control when the arms will throw out and attach themselves to the clutch bell. And what this center clutch does, or spring, is determine when the 2 pulley clamshells will open and shut. And of course that's all, you have to experiment with your size and weight, everything. What I usually do is I use the yellow, I like the yellow ones. They're 1500. They will only last, in my bike, only 700 miles, and then they lose their tension and the belt starts to slip too much. Then I have to replace them. And I get all that from VT Cycles. And here's the bottom clamshell of it's called the rear pulley. This is the top part of the clutch, top part of the spring. It's this little insert that you just put in, and this is a 1500 stall spring. So you just take that little top part right there, and you take the open part of the spring and you put it on here. Then you put the clutch on, that's upside down, and you can see the clutch, it's got a oblong fitted place that fits in here. Then what you have to do is you just have to get it on there to where you can get the nut started, and then you're home free. That's the big problem. Now, what I found, this is a secret I'm going to let you. I took a piece of wood in order to get these clutch springs off. Some of them come off easy, some of them are a real bitch because they're trying to get the leverage on them is a pain on these little tiny ones. So I took 3 screws and I go in 3 different places and I screwed this clutch to the wood. Okay? Then I take my puller right here and I grab onto the wood And I use my puller, as you can see, to pull the springs out. Pulling the stock springs off is easy. It's these other ones, the green ones and the yellow ones and the red ones, I think they're red. Some of them are really, really tense, and they're hard as hell to get on and off. But that's just trial and error too. And as you can see, I'm taking the springs off. Now I've got 3 of the stock springs off, and I keep them. One of them is a little bent. The green ones will go on next, and you can see how the plates throw themselves out. And if you were to take this yellow weight off, what you do is you turn this around and it would come up closer to here. It changes the geometry of the centrifugal effect of the clutch. And that's all trial and error too. There's no easy way to do it. Now, what I've done here is I've put the 3 springs on. Okay? Now, if you'll notice on a KRS clutch, not only can you put different springs on, you can put the springs you can put them in this place, and then up in here we have a couple of divots where you can adjust the springs. And like I say, it's all trial and error. And here's yellow springs, what yellow springs look like. I decided to put yellow springs on. And there, if you'll notice, the yellow springs are a little bit larger diameter than the green, and they have different tension. And here's where I've used, this really helps. This snap-on deal I bought when I was a kid about 30 years ago when I used to auto body. Now the best way to get these springs on that I've found is you'll notice that I have 3 different bolts. You can put 5, it does 6, it doesn't matter. 3 different screws holding it into the 1.5-inch board. Then what I do is I will take this snap-on ice pick and I will slip it up underneath this spring right here, because I found that this tool, it just does not work. This hook does not work on these real heavy ones. What you do is you take the tip right here, you put it up underneath this into the hook, and then you thrust the tip of the ice pick into the hole, and what you do is you pick up like this. And what it does is it stretches the spring, and as the spring comes forward, it'll come down the shaft right here and pop into place. That's the easiest way I found to do it. Other than that, you got to be Chuck Norris or superhuman to do it. So that's some good tips on backyard clutch spring replacement. And then of course here's the back thing again. And if you go to put on a new belt, and new belts, Bando makes them. Sometimes they have a direction on them, sometimes they don't. And remember, there is regular belts and ZX. Here's the little tool I made. It just both of these pieces of metal are free-forming. The problem with the metal is you have to get between the clutch. You have to get it so you can have that 14mm bolt free to get a socket on it. And then you have to be able to put and you can do this both ways. You can take it off with the piece of wood down here, and then you can take the piece of wood and you stick it over here and you tighten it down. Okay, this clutch is going to be 2 parts.